This cannot continue, can it? Unless you've been hidden under a rock, there's a thing called Partygate, and within Partygate there are photos coming out, and there's probably going to be a lot more, and it's not going to look very good for the Tory party or Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the UK. So let's rewind a little bit back to December 8th, 2021, where he denies any parties.
Will the Prime Minister tell the House whether there was a party in Downing Street on the 13th of November?
No, but I'm sure that whatever happened, the guidance was followed and the rules were followed at all times.
So let's skip back to the future, May 24, 2022, and we're going to have a load of photos released of the Prime Minister at a party on the date that he was just asked about. Thanks to leaked footage from ITV News, we've got images of the Prime Minister at a second party having a drink, and we also know that the police fined one of the people who was at that party. So to be clear, the police deemed that that was a party. The Prime Minister said there were no parties, and specifically referring to that date said there wasn't a party. And yet we've got mainstream media organisations coming out and saying, yeah, it's all fine, no problem, don't look here, it's all been blown out of proportion. I'm telling you what, you carry down this line and this is going to be the end of the Tory party. And of course the story from the Tory MPs who are going to be wheeled out to protect the Prime Minister today are going to say we should move on. Have a listen to this though from Susanna Reid.
I'm sure you're going to have people come on and say it doesn't matter, move on. But to many of us out here it does matter. In November 2020, it was awful at our care home. We were living in PPE and having to deal not just with the virus, but families kept apart by the virus, talking through windows or on tiny Zoom screens on iPads, and people with dementia who couldn't grasp what was going on and thought all their family were dead because they hadn't seen them for so long. That glass of wine pictured in his hand was basically thrown in the face of everyone who followed the rules he set, including the NHS workers he stood outside number 10 and clapped for. Yes, it does matter.
In fact, it matters so much that Tory MP Sir Roger Gale said it's absolutely clear that there was a party, that he attended it, that he was raising a toast to Glass, one of his colleagues, and therefore he misled us from dispatch box. And honourably, there is one answer to this. We have to have somebody at the helm that we can really rely on, and whose word we can rely on. That doesn't appear to me to be Mr. Johnson. The knives are certainly coming out for Boris. Now, remember, at that point, you weren't even allowed to sit on a bench with someone, unless they were in a bubble. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Do you think he 1, attended a party, 2, he witnessed a party and therefore lied to Parliament, or 3, and this is the best one, he's too thick to know what a party is? And this morning would only get better because Grant Schapps, the Transport Secretary, will be released upon the public to defend the position of the Prime Minister. And I intend to pull apart everything that he said this morning.
We're recalling in context that throughout this period, the Prime Minister himself had been seriously ill, had a close brush with coronavirus.
Yes, there was a close call. And the reasons why push you towards answer number 3.
I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody.
That's the first offence, and all it does is show that our Prime Minister is thick as 2 short planks.
Coronavirus, he lost his mum during the period.
He did lose his mum about a year after the party.
Dealing with the pandemic.
He dealt with it so well that over 178,000 are dead, one of the highest records in Europe and in the G7.
The question is, was he down there partying? No, clearly not. He'd gone by to say thanks and raise a glass to a colleague who was leaving, you know.
So Grant Schapps, in defending the Prime Minister, admits that the Prime Minister attended a leaving party?
The answer to this, of course, is that the police have spent a lot of time with a lot of people and a lot of resources crawling over it, and they've come to their conclusion. As we know, he wasn't fined for that then.
No, but he was fined. He did lie. And on top of that, someone else who did attend that party was fined because it was a party according to the police. We might go into detail about what the police were doing and why they've utterly failed at this, but that's probably for another video. So what do you think? 1, 2 or 3? Let me know. And in the meantime, please help by doing a free thing. Like, click the subscribe button and notification button. Bye for now.